see. We live.
All right, here we go. Where's the applause? There it is. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Capital City Podcast. I'm your host, Capital J, alongside my main man,
DL Glass.
Gangsta Boo she was one of my favorite female rappers, man.
Mm-hmm.
Always been a Gangsta Boo fan. And, you know, she spent all that time in the 3-6 Mafia.
Mm-hmm.
And she had, for a brief period, gotten out of the group. Well, she was still out of the group. But she had gotten away from devilish things and changed her name to Lady Boo. She even did some Christian rap for a little while.
In 2001, she became Lady Boo.
Right. Said she didn't want to be known as Gangsta Boo anymore. But, you know, more recently, though, she was back in it doing drugs and partying, and she had put an album out with LeChat called Witch.
Mm-hmm.
LeChat was like her carbon copy. You need Jesus. if you're out here taking these hard drugs, a lot of MCs have turned, especially ones who really got out there. And just in the group 3-6 Mafia, during the time that they've been out, you had a dude named Dale that was associated with them back in the day. He's a gospel rapper now.
Mm-hmm.
Gangsta Boo went gospel. Project Pat got saved. And now, you know, they all, you know, backslid at some time, except for Dale. I think he's still a pretty big deal in the gospel community. But let's take a pivot and talk about gospel artists, gospel hip-hop artists for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Gangsta Boo made that switch. And you can it's easy to imagine why people from the 3-6 Mafia would get away from that devil worshiping stuff.
She used to call herself the devil's daughter.
Right. I told you what she said on the album. She said something on the album just made me take pause for a second. I'm like, yo, did she just like pledge allegiance to the devil? Like, they were really into this stuff. Crunchy Black got plenty of interviews out there right now. And, you know, he said it was real. They were really doing this stuff. Mm-hmm. And they said that DJ Paul introduced them all to the devil. That he was the one that, you know, that really took it there. It's like, hey, we ain't just going to talk about it. We going to be about it.
Right.
And you see the girl that sang Nookie, what's her name? Jackie O.
Mm-hmm.
She's a gospel artist now.
Really?
Yep, gospel rap. Salt, gospel rap.
Mm-hmm.
From Salt and Pepper.
Right.
And then you have plenty of artists, rather than just make a full transition, they acknowledge their Christian roots by making gospel-style songs on their album.
Right.
You know, MC Hammer was one of the early ones with Pray. That's why we pray. 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 Scarface.
Who you think did it best?
Hey, man, Petey Pablo had a joint. Oh, man. So sweet, so sweet. He spoke to me. That was the name of it. He spoke to me.
His first album.
That song was absolutely
right.
Great.
Right.
Scarface.
Who did it best?
Someday. And to me, those are the two best secular gospel rap songs from secular artists. Well, Kanye, Jesus Walks was pretty tough too. So to me, those are the three best gospel rap songs by secular artists. It's Petey Pablo, He Spoke to Me. Scarface, Someday, featuring Faith Evans. And Kanye West, Jesus Walks. And Kanye put a whole gospel album out with a choir. No hip hop.
Yes. And I think we don't give enough credit to the Scarface, the Fix album.
That album was one of the best albums of all time.
You say Someday, but the whole album.
The whole album was fire.
Inspirational.
Yes,
It
yes.
was borderline Christian or religious rap. It was inspiration, and
It's
I
good.
didn't pay attention to how inspirational it was until I was listening, because this was back in the day when they actually had the inspirational segment on the radio,
Right.
and it was on Sunday morning in the state I was living in, which was like West Virginia, and they played over time the whole album during this inspiration, and I was like, so I went back and I listened to it again.
Man, that was great work.
Yes, man, the whole thing, man.
And what it also proved is, don't let anybody tell you you can't put a positive message in your music.
Right.
That whole album was a positive message and good vibes, and it was one of the dopest hip hop albums of all time.
And he told, see, the excuse I can't say the excuse, the reason I hear so many people say that the music is the way it is now, full of violence, is because the kids and whoever's making the music is rapping about what they're going through or what they've seen.
Mm-hmm.
And he did the same thing in a positive form. And the reason why I highlight him so much is because Scarface. You know what I'm saying?
from the Ghetto Boys, who have made some pretty, some pretty horrible stuff in their past.
Yes.
Stuff that no Christian would spend any time listening to.
Right.
But then on the flip side, but hey, that's the reason. That's the reason people take their kids to church and give them a foundation. Because no matter how far you stray, you end up coming back to that stuff later.
Right.
You don't forget what you were taught. And Scarface didn't. Kanye didn't. MC Hammer didn't. Petey Pablo. I mean, I used to go to church with Petey Pablo in Greenville.
Right.
So I know that when he sang that, I know I was right there in church with him on Sundays. And, you don't get away from that stuff. That's why you give them a foundation now, so they go and do what they're going to do. But hopefully it has something to come back to. And all these artists made some good work. Unfortunately, Kanye hasn't shown, he hadn't shown that character lately. He's been a little bit hateful out here. But nobody else is there's not a lot of secular artists dabbling in Christian music or gospel or anymore. Like after Scarface and Petey, you don't really hear a lot of that. You still have your artists who turn 100% wholly towards gospel, but they don't dabble and just put a song on their album like they used to. There was a time when every hip hop album used to have a "Say No to Drugs" song, or and you just don't get nobody wants to. It's almost like they're scared to turn people off with any type of positivity.
I think is I remember the track Bible by Genius, basic instruction before leaving Earth. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy.
How was he approaching?
Well, it was the track wasn't just him. It was a few people on it, but it's the Wu basically, and it it was some kind of messaging, and I think all that stuff from the Wu, except that old dirty bastard stuff, had some kind of messaging or underlying theme in it.
Right.
So,
right.
And that Genius album was what was the name of the album? Swords and
Liquid Swords.
Liquid Swords.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think that's kind of Yeah,
and now we talk about secular artists who put gospel songs on their albums or songs with a Christian message, but there are a lot of MCs that are just straight up 100% in the gospel rap lane. Lecrae, of course, is the biggest, and a lot of diehard purists, think that Lecrae went too far. you know. But at the same time, you know, I've even heard Lecrae say, you know, he didn't go so far that he's experiencing the same level of success as a Lil Wayne and all these other cats. You know, you just know who he is.
Man, Lecrae eating.
Yeah,
but I think what he does a great job of, and I think it's the same thing you're speaking of, is towing the line, and it sounds just like the other stuff.
Right.
You know, the same cadence, the same producers probably.
Yeah.
But it's the same stuff.
But you got to be good at it to pull that off too.
Yes.
And
yes.
like there's let me see.
For a whole project and still get features.
Yeah, I say the next, probably outside of Lecrae, the next most popular guy is Andy Mineo or Mineo. I don't know how you pronounce his last name, but he's kind of like the Eminem in this. You know what I mean? Yeah. But he's a big deal. Yeah, he's a real big deal in gospel rap, man, and he's getting it.
I know Derek Minor is.
Derek Minor. Bizzle's a big deal. KB, NF, I heard a lot of his stuff, like Trip Lee, most definitely. Oh, Toby Mac. Toby Mac is a big deal, huge deal. And you got Tadashi, Sho Baraka.
Have you heard anything from No Malice?
Not lately. Did he he went straight gospel?
It's No Malice now.
Yeah.
Not Malice.
But I haven't heard anything from him.
Me either. That's why I was asking you. I mean, you're to the streets more than mine. So.
Oh, but you know the crazy thing is that even in that world, Snoop Dogg made a pretty good gospel album recently. But like I said, I can't think of any song that compares to Jesus Walks and all them other joints, you know, that we named as our top three. But he did put a song out, and he's that's a big time artist. Mm-hmm. Who, and I just got finished saying that nobody even dabbled like that since Scarface, but Snoop did a whole album. And he rapped on it. Like Kanye, he found a choir and put, let the choir put an album out, but it wasn't a rap album. Yeah, but Snoop Dogg was a rap album. You know what I'm saying? So, we can't leave him out.
How well did that do?
I really don't know.
Don't even waste your time.
You say don't look it up. It might have done really well. Who knows?
Don't even waste your time.
But the crazy thing is that even in that world, they end up having a bunch of foolishness. Same foolishness that goes on in regular music goes on the gospel side.
No.
Oh yeah.
No
yeah, dude. The truth. You know who Ty Tribbett is?
Yes.
He was married. The gospel rapper named The Truth slept with his wife. You know what I'm saying? So that was a really bad look for gospel rap because it make it look like, man, these dudes on the same old stuff as everybody else. But
they're supposed to be Jesus. They're supposed to be perfect.
I don't expect no adultery going on.
Like I don't see nothing wrong with Mace leaving and coming back when he get ready.
Mace is another one we forgot about.
I don't see nothing wrong with
it. Mace came back, but and then when he came back, it's not like he came back on the worst.
I'm gonna kill you.
Did he? The first time he came back though, he was all smiles and positivity. You know what I mean?
Man, that wasn't Mace, man. He was fronting, man.
Hey, that was Mace. Mace was always smiling and having a good time.
Not Murder.
Murder Mace.
Murder had to come back to get your attention. You know what I'm saying? Because Mr. Shiny Suit had already left you anyway.
Oh my goodness!
When he came back as Murder, that's when 50 was trying to sign him, and he was killing remixes. You talk about Jesus Walk. Mace killed Jesus Walk remix. What? And the Lean Back remix. What?
Mace. All right, Pastor. Yeah. Mr. Dell, that's his name, man. Mr. Dell is still doing his thing. Straight out of Memphis. Used to be with 3-6 Mafia. Huh? Oh, yeah. Bartender. But yeah, dudes just kind of left that stuff alone, man. It's kind of refreshing that Snoop Dogg took it there. You know, even if it wasn't the best work of his career. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And a lot of people that go to church all the time, you know, I've seen a lot of pushback towards any secular artist making gospel music. They don't, you know, a lot of Christians don't want no part of that. You know what I mean?
Right.
They're like, man, this dude's a heathen. I mean, this and this.
That more of that judgmental shit.
Right. But at the same time, you don't know who you're going to reach.
Right. Your delivery is everything.
Right. Right. And some people some people that didn't hear Lecrae heard Kanye.
Or heard Dax. D-A-X.
Dax.
Man, curse. He might kill him in the joint. But it's all about God.
What?
It's all about God. Independent, I think he is. I don't know if he's a deal or not.
You know, Chance the Rapper is openly Christian, you know, but I wouldn't say he just is a gospel. He's not a gospel rapper, but he's a Christian MC. And, you know, there's certain things he try to keep out of his music. And I ain't mad at that. You know, Molly Music is another one that, you know, kind of did gospel and R&B. He kind of walks that line back and forth, but never goes too far.
J. Cole give a lot of praise, too.
Right. I have you in this without doing a full gospel album. You know what I'm saying? MC Hammer set it off real big, though, at Pray. You know, I think he was one of the biggest artists of the time.
Right.
And, you know, he's out here. That's why we pray. The choir. Get busy. They did it up big.
What about Rick Ross, God Forgive? I don't.
Man, I don't want nothing out of Rick Ross or DJ Khaled. God did. that ain't what we talk about right now. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, there's you know, hip hop gospel. I don't know. It's sometimes there have been times where, like, as much as I love the message, sometimes it's like, is this good? I mean, I'm just being real.
Right.
Just as a fan of the, you know,
of the culture or
the culture. Like I said, we talked about what MCs talk about all the time. Like, especially early on, it's about me. Right. I'm good. I'm this. I'm that.
Yes.
So, you know, like when I'm in church and the dudes start rapping about Jesus, like,
hey man, I don't know if I really want to hear this.
And I'm always down to praise, you know what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong. I was in church this past Sunday. Yeah. But if the pastor start kicking a rap,
I thought it was just me. Yeah, I thought it was just me.
You know what I'm saying? And that's part of the conversation we having right now, you know?
I'm glad you said that because I got a question for you. So, have you ever thought about, because earlier you said that nobody's touching on this stuff anymore. And have you thought about that there are some artists who still touch on it, but it's just in a different way? And I'll give you an example of somebody who, now this is towing the line, but Kodak Black gives a lot of praise to God in his music. And, you know, I think even the Lil Baby gives
Kodak Black is probably one who used to go to church. His mom and his grandma back in the day.
Yeah. And he's, Kodak Black is Haitian. So we don't know what his religion is, you know, but just saying give praise to God, you know, and thanking God and stuff like that is what I'm speaking to. Because I don't never know what somebody is.
You can kind of see who has a foundation and who doesn't by looking at the imagery. That what are they willing to? How far are they willing to go? Like, When you look at 21 Savage, an upside down cross in the middle of his forehead. No, he got a cross tattoo on his forehead.
Shit, he might.
21 Savage.
He got
Look up a picture of 21 Savage.
Okay. It's something there.
Well, you know, and like, let's confirm that before I go forward what I'm about to say.
Yeah, a cross.
Now, is it upside down looking?
No.
It's just a cross? Okay, well, even if it's just a cross, it's not upside down.
Or is it a sword?
It makes me think that he didn't really grow up in the church like that, because the last person who made having a cross on their forehead famous,
it might be a sword,
was Charles Manson.
Right.
And he referred to himself as the Antichrist.
No, because I'm about to be.
Who else had a cross in the middle of their forehead?
You can't see these white people out here before Easter.
Well, all I'm saying is a tattoo of a cross on your forehead.
Story.
You know what I'm saying?
I'll tell you a story.
Wait, hold that story, and I'm gonna hold. No, seriously. Remember what you were going to say. And if you grew up in the church, you're not gonna do nothing that Charles Manson did to your face, because Charles Manson called himself the Antichrist. So if you have that foundation already, which makes me think that 21 Savage probably didn't grow up in the church, because or he wouldn't do anything mimicking a serial killer that clearly called himself the Antichrist.
I think it's a sword, but to your point of him
might just be a bad tattoo,
and because he's from the UK, and you know they're more free spirited. The God, you know, they're more free spirited there. So that's all I'm saying.
Right, and then you get over here to the American South.
Yeah,
and you know, like I said, that stuff don't fly like that.
I mean, but there's a lot of them with it.
Yeah, and you see who had the foundation, who doesn't. Like, you can tell, you're not going to tell me that Jay-Z did not grow up in church. You know what I'm saying?
Different time, but
you can tell. Just stuff he says. Like, he don't mind saying blasphemous stuff. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like, I would bet that Nas didn't spend a lot of time in church. He said, when I went to hell for snuffing Jesus, he said that in his late teens, early 20s. Like, if you grew up in the church around people who went to church, you ain't comfortable even speaking stuff like that. Okay. Because you grew up. Right. You hear your grandparents telling you what not to get involved in, what not to say, what's blasphemous, what's against the Lord. And you can tell who just don't have that foundation. Not saying won't get it later, but, you know, you just listen to certain people, and you hear how comfortable they are with blasphemy. Then you know they didn't grow up in a church setting. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's you know, I would be willing to bet. And then, like, even Kanye today, all that ranting and raving he's doing against Jewish people and all this horrible stuff that he might have said, you could tell that he, at some point, did have that foundation. Doesn't mean it's going to stay with you forever. Right. But he did, because at the end of the day, he's still paying homage to the Lord in the way that he was taught.
And it's crazy you say that, because that brings, I think, more context to my story.
All right, go ahead.
Because I didn't grow up in church.
Right.
I used to go to the Kingdom Hall sometimes, but I didn't grow up in church.
Right.
And so I was grown, 22, 23 years old, and I was living in Minnesota at the time. And this is my introduction to Ash Wednesday. So
Ash Wednesday, is that a Catholic tradition?
Whatever religion it is. So,
no, I don't remember celebrating anything about Wednesday.
Ash Wednesday
in my church,
because Jesus died and 3 days later he was resurrected, which was the Wednesday, Ash Wednesday.
Okay.
So the cross on the forehead symbolizes that you recognize that he died for your sins.
Right.
So I'm in the house.
Oh, the little ashy, wet cross and then they walk around. I've seen people do that.
I'm in the house, and mind you, I'm in the house.
Mm-hmm.
So I hear the doorbell ring. I'm like, who is this? Like, don't nobody know I'm here. Like,
Right.
So I look out the window, and I see white people walking up and down in the street, kind of with the crosses on their forehead. And I go to the door, look out the peephole, and I see the white people with the crosses on their forehead.
Right,
and
right.
Like we talked about Charles Manson kind of thing, you know what I'm saying?
Right, right.
I panicked.
He like, oh Lord, they here to get me.
I had been
thought a cult had showed up.
I was,
and it's funny because I grew up in the church and we didn't do that.
Right.
We celebrated Easter, but that was kind of the end of it. I wasn't. I never got a cross on the forehead.
I got an Easter outfit.
Yeah,
I got that now.
Right.
But yeah, Ash Wednesday, no. Like I had not been exposed to that.
Right. Neither had I.
Okay.
And I was there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I panicked though. I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, I went and got a hammer. Like I didn't carry a gun. I didn't believe in having guns in the house. I went and got a hammer and a knife out of the kitchen.
Hey, and look, when I see some of this stuff people are doing now in their videos, I think either A, they didn't have like a church foundation growing up, or they did and they didn't enjoy it and it damaged them some way.
Right.
You know,
think Jay-Z got damaged in church?
I don't know, because some like the wrong church will give you a totally different idea of what religion is.
Absolutely.
And maybe like I can say that you're gonna come out of there one of two ways. You're either gonna come out a believer, or you're gonna come out and be like, man, this is some BS. The preacher is full of ish, and I ain't never coming back to this place. And all these people are suckers. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And so, depending on what kind of church you were exposed to, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to take that. I'm going to backtrack on my own words. I'm not going to say that dudes had no church background, but if they did, it was bad experience.
Yeah. You said both.
You
said both.
Yeah. So,
right.
Because, like I said, if it was a good experience, like I said, you'll be uncomfortable being but so blasphemous, or having the devil in your video, or going to hell in your video. If you can do that, then that means that if you did have some previous church experience in your life, then you probably decided it was some BS and you don't want no parts of it, and you don't believe nothing you were taught.
Right.
Or else, you ain't gonna be messing around with that. Like, YG having a video in hell.
You upset about it.
I'm just saying,
right.
You're not gonna do that if your experience was something that you believed in. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You're not gonna come out with no devil horns or a shirt with a pentagram on it, or quoting satanic verses on your song, or talking about snuffing Jesus. If your experience was one that you truly believed in. I mean, that's just straight up. That's across the board for anybody. Like, like if you had a good experience with your mom, you're not going to say nothing about killing your mama. Eminem didn't have a good experience with his mom. So look how easy it was for him to rap about. Yeah. You see what I mean?
J. Cole said, you said snuffing Jesus. J. Cole said that he's so lyrical that Jesus will want to be on Dreamville.
And that, I wouldn't say that's particularly blasphemous or that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, artists are taking it there. Like, for example, that Lil Nas X video, where he rides a stripper pole down to hell and gives a devil a lap dance.
Right.
I mean, you have to know that you are offending everybody who is ever Christianed.
I think that's the point a lot of times.
Right. So either for him, he either A, didn't have a foundation in church, or B, did, and it scarred him to the point where he wants to go out and make a statement against it.
Right.
Such a powerful statement.
Right. And you got,
because why else would you even go there? Like, think about this. If you had never had any experience with church, you wouldn't even come up with that idea.
Because you wouldn't be mad.
It's just like no reason.
Right.
Like, there's no reason to even dabble and do that. You know what I mean?
Where you come up with that?
Like, to either come up with that, you either A, just your experience was terrible, and you got some payback on your mind. Now I'm gonna get all them Christians.
Right.
So that was, that's almost like it's some trauma involved or something. You know what I mean? I'm gonna make everybody pay. Well, wait till you see this.
Wait till you see this.
Wait till you see this.
Right.
They had the Nikes with the the Satan Nikes or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like why go there? Either you don't know no better, or nobody ever taught you that this is something blasphemous, or you lashing out
about something.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
I mean,
yeah.
You're
right though.
Outside of hip hop, you got your girl Katy Perry. She was, she used to be a gospel artist.
No.
Yeah. She was a gospel artist before she went pop. And sometimes she goes in dark places in her videos, and she's somebody who knows the power of that imagery. Mm-hmm. She grew up in a church household. I think her father was a preacher. She knows exactly what she's doing.
Who's the greatest at it?
At what?
Making secular music and gospel.
Secular music with a gospel message?
No.
Oh, the best secular artist with a...
Yes.
Period?
Yes.
That, you mean, nothing gospel related, just best secular.
No. Not. I'm talking about
best secular artist with a gospel message.
Or, yeah.
I think Scarface, man. Scarface did it really well. Like I said, Snoop had a whole album, man.
Yeah, R. Kelly.
But has R. Kelly even made a gospel song?
That's if you're open to new ways of showing your faith.
He's made some positive music.
No.
It's funny because I Believe I Could Fly will come on gospel stations sometimes.
Sometimes.
And I wish.
Sometimes.
Yeah, but are they really gospel songs?
Maybe it's his version. There's different religions.
I've heard Puff Daddy Missing You on a gospel station.
Yeah, always. That's sampled from a gospel song.
No, that's the Police. Every Breath You Take.
Oh, okay.
Every breath you take.
Man, that's almost inspirational too, right?
Yeah. Well, it was about, that song's actually about Big Brother. Because, back in the 80s, the idea that the government would always be watching you.
Got you.
So,
okay.
But
yeah,
they use it sometimes, and that's another subject. Sometimes we mistake inspiration for gospel.
Yes.
And gospel is basically, you preaching the word of Christ.
Right.
But everything inspirational is not gospel.
Right.
But
so I'll take that
on gospel radio, now R. Kelly has made a lot of inspirational music.
Absolutely.
But that Scarface song, Someday, he's talking about the Lord in that song. Right. Petey Pablo is talking about the Lord. Kanye is talking about the Lord. But Puff Daddy, R. Kelly, they weren't necessarily talking directly about the Lord. It's just, it just happened to be an inspirational message. He was talking about his friend maybe going to heaven.
Right.
Hoping he'd get to see him again, but it's not necessarily gospel. And sometimes we kind of mix up the two, inspiration versus gospel. It's not really the same thing.
You're right. You're right.
But, I guess right now I think everybody would agree that Lecrae is probably the best. He's at the top of the pile right now. But you got a lot of talented MCs making that. If you just sit back and just listen, there are a lot of really talented MCs that just strictly do gospel rap.
Mm-hmm. Does that music catch you like the other music?
I've heard some, but I think that as a gospel artist, they got to be careful. Like, here's the thing: music kind of has a message too.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be careful what kind of soundtrack you use. Like once a certain energy has been assigned to a sound,
DMX,
it's hard to use it for something else. Like, I remember being in church and remember Crush on You? Dun-dun, 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 dun-dun. I seen choirs in the middle of that gospel song, and then the band are going to dun-dun, 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 dun, and they keep singing, but they got everybody jamming, but they singing gospel over this. That song's already got a vibe and an energy to it.
Right.
So it's like,
Right.
Even though you're trying to reassign it and repurpose it for gospel, Lil Kim and Biggie already done did what they gonna do on that. And Biggie told you he wanted to go to hell. Mm-hmm. He said it by his mouth. Like, another person who I could say, it makes you wonder, what was his relationship with church? Did he have one, or did he have, was he a person who just didn't have a relationship with church, or was he one that did and it was negative? He said, and it was probably the latter. I'm saying it was probably a negative experience, because he said, I don't want to go to heaven with the goody goodies. So he knows about the concept of heaven and hell. Right. And he's made his choice.
Right. And you said Jay-Z went to church.
I don't know, but
if you think
about sometimes I wonder.
First album.
Sometimes I wonder if he did or not. I would guess that he didn't have much of a foundation in the church. Because he's real comfortable with saying things that I think any Christian would find disrespectful. Admittedly, he's gone on stage and said, I sold my soul to the devil. Mm-hmm. And he's walking around with a quote on his shirt from the Satanic Verses.
Mm-hmm.
If you really got kind of a foundation, you're just gonna stay away from that stuff in general. Because one thing church does is as a child, as you go, it's not just about respecting, where you develop a fear of offending God.
Right.
And when you don't see that, it lets me know that either A, they never had that foundation, or B, it was so bad that they're like, man, I'm going all in on everybody.
Right. Right.
So I don't know which one it was, but there's no reservations about being as disrespectful as possible.
A lot of people do.
Hey.
Or are.
Hey, and I'm like I said, I come from that church background. I can't never get comfortable with being but so blasphemous out here, and artists being that blasphemous, because I came up with a fear of God,
right?
And I was, it's just certain things you just don't do and you just don't say,
right?
Certain things you don't get involved in. So I don't, I'm not going to take part in a seance. I'm not messing with no Ouija board.
Yeah, we bought a Ouija board early on. My older cousin, better get rid of that.
Right. You see what I'm saying? Because that's somebody who had a foundation.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that, just through time, your elders like, look, don't mess with that stuff.
Right.
But that's what Crunchy Black said. DJ Paul used to bring around. He said he used to bring the Ouija board.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Wow.
So, yeah. This is the part 2 of this one was the easier conversation. You know,
Right.
This is gonna be. I'm gonna put this on the chopping block. I'm gonna hook it right up. But yeah, man. So sometimes I wish that we could have people call in while we were talking about this stuff. I would love to hear from
We gotta go live.
from an audience. Yeah.
We gotta go live.
About their own personal experiences, because I've seen what a bad experience with church can do to people, and it leave them angry. Now you mess around, go to church and get molested by a preacher or something. You're not going to come out here singing these praises. You might just ride a stripper pole to hell and do a lap dance on the devil. Or like I said, what happened to Biggie to make him say he don't want to go to heaven?
Because you like black Tims and black hoodies.
I mean, you see what I'm saying? Like, what make you able to say stuff like that?
Right.
Without thinking about it. And that's where we are today.
And so when stuff like that right there is said, I think a part of let me see how I want to say this. A part of it's like a metaphor, because if you think about it, he said because he want to wear black Tims and black hoodies. That's what society has put there, saying that these things are bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, all black.
Yeah, the black Tims and black hoodies, that's what people who look like him wore back then.
Right.
You know what I mean? So nothing about me is godly. You know what I'm saying? They already telling me this. Nothing about me is godly.
And even one step farther, like no Christian's gonna call themselves gods. But, you had a whole movement in hip hop. The 5% Nation refer themselves as gods. Mm-hmm. And they use a quote from the Bible to justify it. But if you're a Christian, like that in itself is blasphemous. Because, if you grew up in the church, they'll tell you in a heartbeat, you're not God. Mm-hmm. And don't you ever claim to be. Mm-hmm. But when somebody can claim to be, you wonder, did they either A, have any church background to tell them they did something you shouldn't do,
right,
or B, did have a church background and it just didn't work for them. And this is what they are now.
Right. So
something to think about, people. And we just had a conversation. I'm not condemning anybody for what they say. I'm not here to judge. That's another thing.
You ain't no Christian. You ain't here to judge.
I'm not. See, spoken like somebody who had a bad experience.
You ain't no Christian. You ain't judging. Stop lying.
That's that bad experience. That bad experience in church. The only one person can judge you. It ain't me.
The one who told everybody else at church.
But those are the kind of experiences that make people, that turn people off.
Right, absolutely.
So, well, we covered, tonight we talked about a little bit of fentanyl. We talked about a little bit of gospel rap. We talked about secular artists kicking gospel music. And we talked about, artists being just plain old blasphemous. So, hey, if you want to join in on the conversation, what's our email again, man?
Info
at
overhere
TV.com. Overheretv.com. Info at overheretv.com. I would love to hear from some people, because one day I want to just have a full show based on the feedback that we've gotten.
Right.
Questions people ask and things people bring up on their own. I would love to have this conversation with people.
Right.
You know? I saw a dude interviewing Country Black, and he said, I remember back in the day, my mama saw that I had y'all 3-6 Mafia CD. She tore it up, broke it, and threw it in the trash. Said, I don't want this mess in my house. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's somebody who had a foundation.
Yes.
You know, you don't bring this mess in here and listen to this.
Some 3 6s.
No 666 Mafia. So we would love to hear from you, man. Hit us up, info@overheretv.com. Get in on this conversation, and we'll find a way to, make this happen and include some of your comments. So we're about to be out of here. It's Capital City Podcast. I'm Capital J, and he's
DL Glass. Be sure to get the podcast anywhere you get podcasts. And on overheretv.com.
Right on. You need Jesus.